Hey, David, what would a gun control compromise look like between left and right? Okay, let's do this, but we have to agree on a parameter first because otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. Given that the Second Amendment exists, what would a compromise look like? If we are really going to imagine a compromise that ignores that the Second Amendment exists, even if you don't like the Second Amendment, even if you wish the Second Amendment didn't exist, we won't get anywhere in imagining a compromise that assumes the Second Amendment doesn't exist. So we actually have to account for that when we think about what a gun safety compromise might look like between left and right. But I actually think there's a bigger problem that we have to talk about. We could rattle off policies. I could say, well, the right could concede universal background checks and maybe we would ban some high capacity magazines and the left would have to concede something else. Then we would just argue about whether that's too far left or too far right or too extreme. We would get nowhere in reality, though, because there's a bigger issue when you talk about a gun safety compromise. The problem here is not a practical problem. We could get together and workshop ideas and come to some kind of hypothetical compromise where both sides would give some stuff up and get something, and everybody would be sort of unhappy, which is often the way a good compromise ends up. The problem is we can't actually have that conversation in good faith because, number one, everyone will see the compromise as a Trojan horse and then immediately imagine that the other side is going to just try to get more and use the compromise as a way to move the needle slightly. And number two, you have very well-funded market-altering players like the NRA that are a direct impediment to actually having good faith conversations about this stuff. So it's actually a completely intractable conversation. The causes of gun violence need to be addressed. The availability of guns needs to be addressed. Mental health, sure, needs to be addressed. Gun culture, the religion of guns, is a massive problem in the United States. And for good reason, no one trusts the other side to negotiate in good faith. I'm not doing both sides-ism, okay? The pro-gun, more guns in more places side is disgusting, and they are extremely well-funded by these gun manufacturers through groups like the NRA. But whatever list you and I can come up with right now about what a compromise would look like is effectively dead on arrival because groups like the NRA are very good at getting even Donald Trump to say, oh, I was for background checks. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. And number two, if you concede anything, the other side will say that's not in good faith. You're just doing this in order to, in 6 months, push for more, and we're not going to allow it. And this is unfortunately one of the areas in which I am most pessimistic. Gun safety. I've talked already about climate change. If you've been watching the show, you know that I am not particularly optimistic on the climate. Gun safety is another area where I am not at all optimistic that we are going to make it happen. And a huge reason for that is the just corrosive and disgusting effect of organizations like the NRA. And I want to be convinced that this could happen. I really do. But look at what happened with background checks after Sandy Hook. Look at all of the other examples. So I am not particularly optimistic. And I think whatever list we could come up with would be taking an immediate backseat to the partisan and moneyed lobbying interests that exist within gun safety. Let me know if I'm wrong and I should have some more optimism on this. We've got a great bonus show coming up for you today. Become a member or a patron to get instant access at joinpakman.com or patreon.com/David Pakman Show.